please. Help me, I'm Amanda Berry.
You need police, fire, or ambulance.
I need police.
Okay, and what's going on there?
I've been kidnapped, and I've been missing for 10 years, and I'm here. I'm free now.
A woman's scream pierces the afternoon silence. An arm desperately reaches through a crack in a storm door. The voice is trembling, terrified. Help me. I'm Amanda Berry. But Amanda Berry has been dead for 10 years. Everyone knows that. A famous psychic said so on national television. Her mother died believing her daughter was gone forever. So, who is this woman? And what has she been doing for the last decade? The answer is more horrifying than anyone could imagine. 20207 Seymour Avenue. An ordinary two-story house on a tree-lined street in Cleveland, Ohio. From the outside, nothing seems unusual. The paint is peeling, the windows are covered. But houses in this working-class neighborhood often look worn down. Nobody thinks twice about it. Nobody knows that behind those boarded windows, 3 young women are living a nightmare. Chained, tortured, forgotten by the world. This is the story of how they got there, and how one of them found the courage to risk everything for 30 seconds of freedom. But we need to go back to where it all started. Back to a hot summer day in August 2002. Michelle Knight is 21 years old, and her heart is racing. Not from excitement, from fear. Today is the day that could change everything. Today, she might get her son back. 2-year-old Joey was taken from Michelle months ago after her mother's boyfriend hurt him. The man got drunk and fractured Joey's knee. Child Protective Services swooped in, and Joey disappeared into foster care. Since then, Michelle has been fighting, attending meetings, proving she can be a good mother. Today's court appointment is crucial. If she misses it, she might lose Joey forever. But Michelle is lost. The courthouse should be around here somewhere, but nothing looks familiar. She's standing on a street corner, confused and anxious, when she hears a voice. Need a ride? She looks up. A man in a vehicle. Someone she recognizes. It's Ariel Castro. She knows him casually through one of his daughters. He's a school bus driver. Harmless. Friendly. Michelle's shoulders relax. Thank God, she thinks. Someone who can help. I'm trying to get to the courthouse, she tells him. I have a meeting about my son. Castro smiles. Get in. I'll take you there. Michelle climbs into the car. She has no idea she just made the worst decision of her life. As they drive, Castro seems relaxed. He makes small talk. Then he mentions something that makes Michelle's face light up. You know, he says, I have some puppies at my house. You want one? For your son? Michelle's heart leaps. A puppy. Joey would love a puppy. It would be perfect for when she gets him back. Really? She asks. Sure, Castro says. We can stop by real quick. Pick one out. Then I'll take you to your meeting. The car turns onto Seymour Avenue. They pull up to a modest house. Michelle follows Castro inside, already imagining Joey's face when he sees the puppy. She's thinking about custody hearings, about second chances, about being a good mom. She's not thinking about danger. Not yet. Castro shuts the door behind her. The sound of the lock clicking makes Michelle glance back. Before she can process what's happening, Castro's hands are on her. An extension cord wraps around her neck. Her arms are yanked behind her back. Her legs are bound. A sock is shoved into her mouth, cutting off her screams. Michelle's eyes go wide with terror. She tries to fight, but Castro is stronger, bigger. He leans close, and his voice is cold. You're not going to leave for a long time. Michelle starts crying, begging through the sock in her mouth. She's trying to tell him about Joey, about the courthouse, about how she needs to go. Castro reaches into her pocket and pulls out the photo she carries everywhere, the only picture she has of her son. He holds it up in front of her eyes. Then, slowly, deliberately, he tears it into tiny pieces. You're never going to see your son again, Castro says. He drags Michelle down a flight of stairs. Her head bounces off each step. The basement is dark and cold, and it smells like rot. Filth covers every surface. Rats scatter when the light hits them. Castro wraps thick chains around Michelle's neck. The metal is heavy and freezing against her skin. He places a motorcycle helmet over her head. The chains press against her throat. Michelle can barely breathe. She passes out from lack of oxygen. When she wakes up, the nightmare continues. Castro assaults her. Again, and again, and again. Michelle loses count. He plays music throughout the house to drown out her screams. Loud, pounding music that ensures the neighbors hear nothing. Days blur together. Michelle is left chained in that basement, wearing the same clothes she'd put on for her court hearing, the hearing she never made it to. Up above, in the real world, Michelle's family realizes she's missing. Her grandmother files a police report. Michelle Knight, 21 years old, was last seen on August 23rd wearing blue shorts and a white t-shirt. She has mental abnormalities and is often confused by her surroundings, but the police don't take it seriously. Michelle has run away before. She's had a troubled life, lost custody of her son. The assumption is simple. She got upset and took off. They do a cursory investigation, a few interviews, some neighborhood canvassing. Then the case goes cold. 15 months later, Michelle's name is removed from the National Crime Information Center database. In the eyes of the system, she's no longer missing. She's just gone. Another troubled young woman who didn't want to be found. But Michelle desperately wants to be found. She's chained in a basement just miles from where her family is searching. She's thinking about Joey every single day, wondering if he's okay, wondering if he remembers her, wondering if she'll ever hold him again. What Michelle doesn't know is that her nightmare is about to get worse, because Ariel Castro is addicted to the feeling of power, the rush of control. And 7 months after taking Michelle, that initial high is starting to fade. He needs to feel it again, so he goes hunting for another victim. April 21st, 2003. Amanda Berry just turned 17 yesterday. She's working the evening shift at Burger King, thinking about her birthday, about being 1 year older, about all the things she wants to do with her life. When her shift ends, Amanda calls her sister for a ride. Her sister is still at work and can't come. Amanda calls a friend. No answer. It's fine, she thinks. She only lives a few blocks away. She starts walking home. It's a route she's taken 100 times. Familiar streets, familiar houses, safe, or so she believes. Amanda notices a van parked in a driveway blocking the sidewalk. She has to walk around it. As she does, she glances inside and sees a man and a girl. The girl looks familiar. Someone from school, maybe? Amanda smiles politely and keeps walking. A minute later, the van pulls up beside her. "Hey, do you need a ride?" the man asks. Amanda looks at him more carefully now. She recognizes him, Ariel Castro. She went to school with his daughters. She knows this man. She's safe with him. "I'm okay," Amanda says. "I don't live far." But Castro is persistent, friendly. He mentions that his son used to work at Burger King. Small talk, building trust. Amanda notices the girl isn't in the van anymore. "Where did she go?" "She's at my house," Castro explains. "You want to come see her? Hang out for a bit?" Amanda hesitates. She's tired from work. She wants to get home, but this is her friend's dad. What's the harm in stopping by for a few minutes? "Sure," she says. She climbs into the van. As they drive to Seymour Avenue, Amanda and Castro chat casually. He's asking about school, about work, being nice, normal. When they arrive at the house, Castro leads Amanda inside. "She's probably taking a bath," he says. "Let me show you around while we wait." He takes Amanda upstairs, shows her a bedroom where a young woman is sleeping. Amanda doesn't recognize her. She doesn't know she's looking at Michelle Knight. Doesn't know Michelle has been chained in this house for 7 months. Doesn't know she's about to join her. Castro guides Amanda into another bedroom. His demeanor shifts. The friendliness evaporates. "Pull your pants down," he orders. Amanda's blood turns to ice. She tries to back away, but there's nowhere to go. Castro is blocking the door. He grabs her and forces her to the ground. He binds her wrists and ankles with duct tape. He adds a belt over the tape on her ankles for extra security. Then he drags her down to the basement, the same basement where Michelle is chained. Castro attaches Amanda to a pole and places a helmet over her head. He leans close and whispers, "If you stay quiet, I'll take you home." It's a lie, but Amanda doesn't know that yet. She nods frantically. "Yes, anything. Just please let me go home." Castro leaves her there, alone in the dark. Amanda can hear a television somewhere nearby, but she can't see anything. The helmet blocks her vision. The chains are so tight she can barely move. She starts crying, screaming no one comes. Hours pass. Days. Amanda loses track of time in the darkness. Up above, Amanda's family is frantic. They report her missing immediately. This isn't like Michelle's case. Amanda doesn't have a troubled past. She didn't run away. She was taken. The police and FBI get involved right away. Amanda's mother, Luana Miller, becomes the face of the search. She appears on every news channel. She organizes vigils. She plasters Amanda's face on posters throughout Cleveland.
Everything of my daughter, Amanda Berry. Thank you all very much for being here. I appreciate it.
Amanda Berry's mother's pleading for anyone with information about her daughter's disappearance to come forward. She's been missing since late April.
1 week after taking Amanda, Castro does something cruel. He uses Amanda's cell phone to call her mother. When Luana answers, she hears a male voice. "I have Amanda," the voice says. "She's fine. She'll be home in a couple of days." The voice uses Amanda's nickname, Mandy. Only people close to her call her that. Luana is devastated, terrified. She begs the caller to bring her daughter home, but the line goes dead. The FBI traces the call. Their technology is new but promising. They narrow the location down to within 2 blocks of Ariel Castro's house. 2 blocks. They're so close. They stake out the area. They wait. But Castro never turns the phone on again. After weeks of surveillance with no results, they give up. Amanda is right there, just 2 blocks from where the FBI is searching, chained in a basement, waiting to be rescued. But no one finds her. Castro eventually moves Amanda from the basement to an upstairs bedroom. He chains her to a radiator. The room is the size of a closet. There's a dirty mattress on the floor, a bucket in the corner that Amanda has to use as a toilet. The smell is overwhelming. The degradation is constant. Amanda feels herself breaking, but she's smart. Survival becomes her focus. Within the first week, Castro asks if she needs anything. Coloring books, maybe? Something to pass the time? Amanda thinks fast. "A journal," she says. "Can I have something to write in?" Castro brings her a small diary with a lock and key. Amanda starts writing, but she's careful. She can't write openly about what's happening to her. Castro might read it, so she develops a code. At the top of each page, she writes a number followed by an X. 3X, 4X, 5X. Each number represents how many times Castro raped her that day. She's creating evidence, building a record. Because somewhere deep inside, Amanda believes she'll get out of this. And when she does, she wants Castro punished for every single thing he's done. In one of her early entries, Amanda writes about a promise Castro made. He told her she'd be home before summer. "Just 2 more months," he said. She's young. She'll get her life back. Summer comes and goes. Amanda is still chained in that room, still waiting, still hoping. Before we continue this devastating story, please take a moment to like this video, share it with others, and leave a comment below. Cases like this need to be remembered. These women's courage needs to be honored. Your engagement helps ensure their story reaches more people. Thank you. Meanwhile, Amanda's mother never stops fighting. Luana appears on talk shows, on news programs, anywhere that will have her. In November 2004, she appears on a show with a psychic named Sylvia Brown. In front of a live audience, Luana asks if her daughter is still alive. Brown closes her eyes, pauses dramatically, then delivers her answer. "She's not alive, honey. Your daughter is in heaven. She's in water. The words destroy Luana. She takes down Amanda's pictures. She gives away her computer. Part of her dies that day, but she can't fully give up. Some part of her still hopes, still believes. She keeps searching even as her health deteriorates. Inside the house on Seymour Avenue, Amanda watches the news on her small television. She sees her mother on screen, pleading for information. Amanda writes in her diary, addressing entries to her mom. "Mother, I just can't wait to go home." What Amanda doesn't know is that the stress is killing Luana. The grief, the not knowing, it's too much for a mother to bear. On March 3, 2006, Luana Miller dies. Heart failure. She's only 43 years old. Her family says she died of a broken heart. She spent 3 years searching for Amanda. 3 years of press conferences and vigils and sleepless nights. She never learned that her daughter was alive. Never knew Amanda was just miles away, thinking about her every single day. Amanda finds out about her mother's death from the television. The news reports it. Amanda's heart shatters. She keeps writing in her diary, but now the entries read differently. "Mother in heaven," she writes. "The girl who was taken at 16 has lost her biggest defender, the woman who never gave up. Now Amanda is truly alone. Or so she thinks, because downstairs in another locked room, Michelle is still chained, still surviving, still thinking about her son Joey. The two women don't know it yet, but they're about to have company. Ariel Castro is getting restless again. It's been a year since he took Amanda. The thrill is wearing off. He needs another hit of power, another victim to control. And he knows exactly who he wants. April 2nd, 2004, 14-year-old Gina DeJesus is walking home from school with her friend Arlene Castro. The two girls are close. They want to hang out, so Arlene stops at a payphone to call her mother. "Can Gina come over?" Arlene's mother says no. The girls are disappointed, but they accept it. They part ways at the payphone. Arlene heads one direction. Gina heads toward her house. Alone. Gina doesn't notice the vehicle following her at first. When it pulls up beside her, she looks over and smiles. It's Arlene's dad, Mr. Castro. Someone she knows and trusts. "Have you seen Arlene?" Castro asks. "Yeah," Gina says. "She just went that way." "Can you help me find her?" Castro asks. "Get in. We'll look for her together." It seems reasonable. Normal. Gina climbs into the car. She has no idea she's making a fatal mistake. Castro doesn't drive toward where Arlene went. He drives to Seymour Avenue. When they arrive at his house, he tells Gina he needs help moving some equipment. "Come inside for just a minute." Gina follows him in. But once they're inside, Castro's behavior becomes strange. He stops talking about equipment. Instead, he starts grooming himself, trimming his eyebrows, his mustache, his nose hairs, right in front of her. Gina feels uncomfortable. Wrong. This doesn't make sense. Then Castro reaches for her, touches her inappropriately. Gina jerks back. "You could go to jail," she says. "I'm only 14. Castro seems to think about this. Then he nods. "You're right. You should go. But use the basement door, not the front door." Gina doesn't question it. She just wants out. Castro leads her down to the basement, and Gina's relief evaporates when she realizes the truth. There is no exit down here. This was always a trap. Castro lunges at her. He tries to chain her up, but the chains aren't tight enough. Gina pulls free. She runs. She kicks Castro hard in the shins. She screams as loud as she can. "Help! Somebody help me." But the radios are on. Castro planned for this. He'd turned up the volume in the basement, turned up the volume in the living room. The music drowns out Gina's screams. No one outside hears a thing. Castro overpowers her. He's bigger, stronger. He gets the chains secured this time. Gina is sobbing, terrified. She's 14 years old, and she has no idea what's about to happen to her. What she doesn't know is that upstairs, 2 other young women are chained in locked rooms. Michelle Knight has been here for almost 2 years. Amanda Berry for 1 year. And now Gina makes 3. Ariel Castro has built himself a house of horrors, and the outside world has no idea it exists. 3 women, 3 locked doors, 3 lives stolen. Castro now had exactly what he wanted: complete control over 3 human beings. He could do whatever he wanted, whenever he wanted, with no consequences. No one was coming. No one was looking hard enough, and Castro knew it. But having 3 prisoners created new challenges, new risks. Castro needed to make sure they never worked together against him, never trusted each other completely, because 3 voices are louder than 1. 3 minds are smarter than 1. And Castro understood something fundamental about power. The moment his prisoners united, his control would crack. So he set out to destroy any chance of that happening. The conditions inside 2207 Seymour Avenue were something out of a horror film. But this wasn't fiction. This was real. This was happening in a residential neighborhood in the middle of an American city. Michelle had been in the house the longest, nearly 2 years by the time Gina arrived. She knew every inch of that basement, every chain, every crack in the walls. She knew the sound of Castro's footsteps on the stairs. She knew what came next when she heard them, every single time. During her first winter in captivity, Michelle was left completely naked. For months, the only thing Castro gave her was a thin sheet. The Cleveland winters are brutal. Freezing temperatures, biting wind. But inside that basement, the cold seeped through the walls, and Michelle shivered constantly. She wasn't allowed to shower for the first 8 months. The filth accumulated on her skin, in her hair. Castro wanted her broken down, humiliated. And it was working. Amanda's situation was different but equally devastating. Castro kept her in a room upstairs, the size of a closet. A stained mattress on the floor was her bed. A bucket in the corner was her toilet. The bucket stayed in the room with her. The smell became unbearable after days. But there was no alternative. No bathroom access. No dignity. Just survival. The windows were boarded up, not just covered. Replaced entirely with solid wood panels. No sunlight entered the house. It was perpetual darkness. Day and night looked identical inside. Time became meaningless. The women lost track of weeks, months, seasons. The only way they knew time was passing was when Castro occasionally allowed them to watch television. Gina, the youngest, was chained alongside Michelle in the same room on the upper floor. They shared a single filthy mattress. Castro had made this arrangement deliberately. He wanted Michelle and Gina together, isolated from Amanda, separated, divided. Because division was Castro's greatest weapon. He fed them barely enough to survive. 1 small meal a day, sometimes less. Fast food, mostly. Neighbors would notice him walking back from McDonald's early in the morning carrying large plastic bags. Nobody questioned it. A man buying breakfast for his family. Nothing unusual about that. Showers were a privilege Castro handed out sparingly, twice a week at most. And even then, the conditions made it another form of violation. Amanda remembered that whenever Castro allowed her to shower, he stayed there watching, standing over her, controlling even that most basic human need. The women were raped constantly, sometimes multiple times in a single day. Amanda kept her code in the diary. 3x, 4x, 5x. She filled page after page. The numbers climbed higher and higher. Each X was a scar she couldn't see, but would carry forever. When Castro assaulted them, he sometimes did it in front of the other women. Michelle would be forced to watch as he attacked Gina. Gina would hear Amanda crying from another room. The psychological torture was as calculated as the physical abuse. Castro wanted them traumatized, terrified, hopeless. To keep their screams from reaching the outside world, Castro blasted music through speakers placed throughout the house, loud enough to drown out anything. The bass vibrated through the walls. Neighbors heard music from Castro's house all the time. They assumed he was just playing his bass guitar. He was known in the neighborhood as a talented musician, after all. Nobody thought twice about it. Michelle became pregnant at least 4 or 5 times during her years in captivity. Each time, Castro's reaction was the same. Brutal, savage. He beat her until she miscarried. He punched her in the stomach repeatedly. He hit her with dumbbells. He slammed her body against walls. He starved her. The violence was so severe that Michelle's body was permanently destroyed. She would never be able to carry a child again. On one occasion, Castro broke Michelle's jaw with a barbell. The bone shattered. The pain must have been excruciating, but there was no doctor, no hospital, no treatment. Michelle had to heal on her own, in that dark room, with no medical attention whatsoever. Michelle also had a pet at one point, a pit bull puppy she named Lobo. The dog became her only source of genuine comfort, her companion in that nightmare. She loved that puppy desperately, but one day Lobo bit Castro while trying to protect Michelle from him. Castro grabbed the puppy by the neck and snapped it, killed it instantly, right in front of Michelle's eyes. It was a message, a demonstration of power. Castro wanted Michelle to know what happened when anyone or anything defied him. The dog is dead. You're next. But Michelle didn't break. Not completely. She became the most resistant of the three women. She refused to use Castro's name when she spoke to him. She called him Dude instead. It made him furious. He punished her for it repeatedly. But Michelle kept doing it. She explained it simply. Later, he wanted to break me. And that's something he couldn't do. Because you can't break someone who's already broken. You can only make them stronger. Castro's manipulation went beyond physical torture. He was psychologically dismantling them, piece by piece. Day by day, he tested them constantly. He'd make noise like he was leaving the house, close the front door loudly, start his car, drive away. The women's hearts would race. Is he gone? Should we try to escape? Should we run? But Castro would sneak back in through another entrance, silently. He'd check on them, see if they'd tried anything. If they had, the punishment was horrific. He beat them savagely, threatened to kill them, reminded them that no one was coming to save them. Because of these tests, the women could never trust that Castro was truly gone. Even when the house was silent for hours, they sat frozen, afraid to move, afraid to hope. It was a prison within a prison. The chains held their bodies, but the fear held their minds. Castro also created a twisted economy inside the house. He gave the women small cash allowances, money they could use to buy food or basic necessities from him. But he could take that money away whenever he wanted, as punishment, as control, as a reminder that he decided everything: what they ate, when they ate, what they wore, whether they lived or died. To ensure the women never trusted each other completely, Castro played them against one another. When Gina first arrived, he gave her the nicest room, let her eat first, showed her small kindnesses that Michelle and Amanda never received. This caused resentment, exactly as Castro intended. He'd give Amanda a small gift one day, then ignore her completely the next. He'd praise Michelle in front of the others, and then scream at her when they were alone. The constant shifting kept all three women off balance, confused, uncertain, unable to form a united front against their captor. One of the most terrifying moments in the entire captivity came when Castro forced Gina to play Russian roulette with him. He showed her a gun. He claimed he'd loaded it with a single bullet. They would take turns, point the gun at each other, pull the trigger. Gina was shaking. She was 19 by then, but she felt like the frightened 14-year-old who'd climbed into Castro's car years earlier. She thought she was going to die right there. But something shifted inside her, a spark of defiance. When her turn came, Gina wanted to pull that trigger while it was aimed at Castro. She wanted to end him. She squeezed the trigger as hard as she could. Nothing happened. The chamber was empty. Whether Castro had actually loaded the gun, nobody knows. But for one terrifying moment, Gina had the power of life and death in her hands. On May 23, 2004, Castro did something unusual. He brought all three women together in the same room. The women were confused. Castro never let them be together like this. What was he planning? He turned on the television. America's Most Wanted was on, and the episode featured both Amanda and Gina's missing persons cases. The three women sat there in stunned silence as their own disappearances played out on screen. Reporters interviewed family members. Amanda's mother, Lowana, appeared, her eyes red from crying. She begged anyone with information to come forward. "Please," she said. "My daughter is out there somewhere." Gina's parents spoke too. Her father, Felix, her mother, Nancy. They talked about never giving up, about keeping the search alive, about believing their daughter was still somewhere. It was torture disguised as television. Castro knew exactly what he was doing. He wanted the women to see their families suffering, to feel the weight of years passing, to understand that the world had moved on. That hope was fading. But Castro made a mistake. He didn't realize what this broadcast would do for the women, because seeing their families on that screen, seeing the determination in their eyes, gave Michelle, Amanda, and Gina something Castro could never take away: proof that they were still being remembered, still being searched for. After that night, Gina said something changed inside her. She couldn't stand Castro anymore. The sight of her parents on that screen stirred something deep, a resolve, a quiet fury. But she learned to hide it. She learned to act normal around Castro, to smile when he expected it, to comply when he demanded it. Because Gina understood something crucial about surviving. You don't show your enemy your strength. You hide it. You wait. And you survive until the moment comes to use it. Castro used the television in another cruel way. He weaponized it against Michelle specifically. Michelle's disappearance had barely made the news. Her family hadn't organized major campaigns. There were no vigils on national television for Michelle Knight. No psychics making dramatic pronouncements about her fate. The system had failed her completely. She was removed from the missing persons database after 15 months, forgotten. Castro knew this, and he used it to destroy Michelle's spirit. "Nobody is looking for you," he'd tell her. He'd point to the television when Amanda's mother appeared on screen, begging for her daughter's return. "See that? Amanda's family loves her. They're fighting for her every single day. But your family?" Castro would shake his head slowly. "They don't even care that you're gone." Michelle said those words cut deeper than any physical blow. It wasn't entirely true. Her grandmother never stopped looking. Her family searched in their own quiet way. But compared to the massive campaigns for Amanda and Gina, Michelle's case was invisible. Castro exploited that invisibility ruthlessly. "Ain't you glad I took you?" Castro once asked Michelle, as if he'd done her a favor, as if kidnapping and torturing her was an act of mercy. Michelle said it hurt because somewhere in the back of her mind, she wondered if Castro was right, if nobody really cared. It was the darkest place her mind ever went. Despite everything, the women found ways to hold on to pieces of humanity. Castro forbade them from talking to each other. He put up gates between rooms, closed doors, monitored their interactions. But the women found ways around him. When the doors were closed, they slid notes underneath, drew pictures, passed messages back and forth, small words of encouragement, reminders that they weren't alone. On the rare occasions when Castro left the house for longer periods, the women would come together. They'd dance, sing, watch television. Their favorite show was The Vampire Diaries. They'd watch an episode together and then spend hours afterwards talking about what might happen next. Laughing, joking, making predictions. We would watch the show, and then for 2 hours afterward, we would talk about what's going to happen next week. Amanda said, those moments of normalcy were lifelines, small islands of joy in an ocean of darkness. When Castro came home, he'd destroy the mood instantly. His footsteps on the stairs would make their blood run cold. But for those brief windows of time, they were just 3 women watching television and laughing together. Not prisoners, not victims, just people. Castro also tormented them with a deeply disturbing ritual. Instead of celebrating their birthdays, he'd give them cake on the anniversary of the day he'd kidnapped them, their abduction day. He'd present the cake like it was a celebration, a gift, It was one of the most psychologically cruel things he did, turning the worst day of their lives into something he expected them to be grateful for. Before this story continues into its darkest chapter, if you haven't already, please like this video right now, share it with someone you know, drop a comment below, and tell us what you think about this case. These women survived something unimaginable, and their story deserves to be heard by as many people as possible. Your support makes that happen. Thank you. Castro maintained his double life with terrifying ease. During the day, he drove a school bus for the Cleveland Metropolitan School District. He'd been doing it for 22 years. He was known by the kids, trusted by parents. He'd give children rides on his motorcycle after school. He was part of the community, woven into the fabric of everyday life. At night, he played bass guitar in a local salsa band. He was talented, one of the best bass players in Cleveland according to his bandmates. He'd go out to clubs, dance with women, laugh with friends. His bandmates said he was outgoing, fun. He kept his personal life private, but that wasn't unusual for musicians. Everyone respected his boundaries. He barbecued with neighbors. Charles Ramsey, who lived across the street, said they ate ribs together, listened to salsa music. Castro came outside every day, got his mail, chatted with people, tinkered with his cars and motorcycles, played with his dogs. Everything a normal person does. Castro was so confident in his facade that he attended vigils for Gina DeJesus, the girl he'd kidnapped and was keeping chained in his house. He showed up at the gatherings where Gina's heartbroken family stood holding photos of their missing daughter. He hugged Gina's mother, Nancy, offered his condolences. He helped hand out flyers looking for Gina. His own son, Anthony, a journalism student, interviewed Gina's mother for a newspaper article about the disappearances. Castro read that article. He probably felt invincible reading words about his own crimes written by his own child who had no idea. Castro even joined search parties. He helped police look for Gina. He wanted access to information about the investigation. He needed to know if they were getting close, and he wanted to make absolutely sure he wasn't considered a suspect. After all, Gina had last been seen with his daughter Arlene. What better way to throw off suspicion than to help find her? And it worked. For 10 years, it worked. Castro's family visited the house regularly. His mother came to see him, but Castro never let her inside. He'd check on her from the porch, talk to her through the door. His mother never questioned why she couldn't come in. She just accepted it. His son, Anthony, visited just 2 weeks before the women were rescued. He noticed certain areas were always locked. The basement door, the attic door, the garage door, all padlocked. Castro made excuses. The house is a mess. Don't have anything in the fridge. Come another time. Anthony never pushed it. On one visit, Anthony noticed his father acting strangely. Castro asked him a question out of nowhere. "Do you think Amanda Berry will ever be found?" Anthony said he thought she was probably dead. Castro's response was odd. A slight smile. "Really? You think so?" Anthony didn't think anything of it at the time. He had no way of knowing his father was asking about a woman he was holding captive 2 floors above where they were standing. A friend named Ricky Sanchez visited the house just days before the rescue. He came to show Castro a bass guitar he was selling. They spent 2 hours together inside the house. During that visit, a young girl appeared from the back of the house. Castro grabbed her by the arm. "This is my granddaughter," he said. "Say hi." The girl never said hi. She just stood there, silent. Ricky noticed something strange about her expression, but he didn't say anything. He'd known Castro for years. He trusted him. Then Ricky heard noises, strange sounds coming from upstairs. He asked Castro about it. "What are those noises?" Castro shrugged. "Dogs," he said. "I keep some dogs on the 2nd floor." Ricky left, thinking nothing of it. Just days later, the world would learn the truth about those noises. In 2008, Cleveland police actually stopped Ariel Castro on a traffic violation. He was riding a motorcycle without a license plate, without a helmet, without proper registration. Officer Jim Simone pulled him over. Castro was calm. cooperative. He told the officer he'd just gotten off work driving a school bus. He didn't want to lose his job over something silly. The officer ran a background check. Castro had no criminal record, just a few minor traffic violations. The officer made a decision. He gave Castro a ticket instead of arresting him. Let him push the motorcycle home. He didn't want to cost a school bus driver his job over a traffic stop. Officer Simone later said he'd made 10,000 arrests in his career, but something about Castro seemed harmless. Average. Nothing about him raised a red flag. At that exact moment, 3 women were chained in Castro's house, less than a mile away, waiting for someone to notice, waiting for someone to look closer, waiting for someone to ask the right questions. Nobody did. Not yet. May 6th, 2013. A Tuesday morning. Nothing about this day looked different from any other day on Seymour Avenue. The sun was out. Birds were singing. Neighbors were leaving for work. Children were walking to school. Inside 2207, 3 women woke up like they had every other morning for the past decade. Chained, hungry, afraid. Another day in hell was beginning. But something was about to change everything. Ariel Castro got ready that morning, like he always did. He moved through the house with practiced ease. He checked the locks, the chains, the doors. He'd done this routine thousands of times, every single day for over 10 years. It was second nature. Automatic. He barely thought about it anymore. He grabbed his keys, headed for the door. His mind was on lunch. He was going to McDonald's. A quick meal before he had to be somewhere else later. He stepped outside, pulled the front door shut behind him, got in his car, drove away. He forgot to lock the big inside door. It was one small mistake, one momentary lapse in 10 years of meticulous control. Castro had tested the women hundreds of times. He'd conditioned them so thoroughly that even when he left a door unlocked on purpose, they never tried to escape. The punishment for attempting was too severe. They'd learned that lesson the hard way. But today was different. Today, Castro didn't leave it unlocked as a test. He simply forgot. And that single moment of carelessness was about to cost him everything. Inside the house, 6-year-old Jocelyn moved freely, like she always did when her daddy left the door open. She bounced down the stairs with the energy only a child could have in a place like this. She searched the ground floor, the kitchen, the living room, the garage. No sign of Castro anywhere. Jocelyn ran back upstairs to her mother. Her face was confused, worried in the way only a young child can be when something feels wrong but she can't explain why. "Mommy," she said, "I don't find Daddy. Daddy's nowhere around. His blue car is not here." Amanda's heart started beating faster. Castro was gone. She knew that. But was he really gone? Or was this another one of his tests? Her mind raced through every possibility. Castro had tricked them before. So many times, he'd pretend to leave, come back silently, check if they'd moved, if they'd tried anything. And if they had, the beating would be savage. Amanda told Jocelyn to check again. Go look in the garage. Look in the backyard. Maybe Daddy is hiding, playing a game. Jocelyn dutifully went back downstairs and searched again. Up and down the stairs she went. Each time she came back with the same report. Daddy isn't here. His car is really gone. Amanda sat there, listening, watching. The house was silent. No footsteps, no car engine, no sign of Castro anywhere. Minutes stretched into what felt like hours. Her body was tense, every muscle coiled. Half of her wanted to move. The other half was paralyzed by fear. Then she tried her door. It opened. Amanda stood in the hallway. Her hands were trembling. She could hear her own heartbeat pounding in her ears. She made her way downstairs step by careful step. Each creak of the floorboard made her freeze, waiting for Castro to appear from a shadow, waiting for the trap to spring. But nothing happened. The house was empty. Castro was truly gone. Amanda reached the front door. She pushed it open. Beyond it was the storm door. The outer door made of thin wire mesh and metal framing. And it was padlocked shut. A heavy chain wrapped through the handle and bolted tight. Amanda stared at that padlock. 10 years. 10 years of captivity. 10 years of chains and darkness and torture. And now this. One padlocked storm door standing between her and the rest of the world. She grabbed the door handle and pulled. The door opened slightly. Just a crack. Just enough for her to squeeze her arm through. Amanda pushed her arm out into the open air. Real air. Warm spring air. She could feel the sunlight on her skin for the first time in years, and then she screamed, "Help me! Somebody please help me! I'm trying to get out." Across the street, 75-year-old Aurora Marty was sitting on her porch enjoying the afternoon sun. She heard the screaming immediately. It was loud, desperate, terrified. She looked up and saw an arm reaching frantically through a crack in the storm door of Castro's house. Aurora hurried across the street. As she got closer, she could make out the face of the woman behind the door. A young woman, crying, shaking, begging for help. "I'm Amanda Berry," the woman said. "Please help me get out." Aurora's eyes went wide. Amanda Berry. Everyone in Cleveland knew that name. It had been on posters and television screens for a decade, but Amanda Berry was dead. The psychic said so. Everyone believed it. "You can't be Amanda," Aurora said. "Amanda is dead. It's me," the woman insisted. "Please, I need to get out before he comes back." Aurora tried to help. She grabbed the door and pulled with everything she had. But she was 75 years old. She had arthritis. Her hands weren't strong enough to break through. The padlock held firm. Amanda kept screaming, kept begging. Her arm waved desperately through the crack in the door. That's when Charles Ramsey heard it. Ramsey had just walked back from McDonald's carrying his lunch. He was about to sit down and eat when the screaming caught his attention. He looked over and saw the commotion at Castro's house. A woman's arm sticking out of the storm door. Aurora struggling to help her. Ramsey didn't hesitate. He jogged over to the house and stepped onto the porch. He looked at the door, assessed the situation. Instantly. The padlock was solid. Pulling wasn't going to work. "Kick it," Ramsey told Amanda. "Kick the bottom panel. I'll kick it from out here." Amanda nodded frantically. They both started kicking again and again. The metal frame rattled. The wire mesh vibrated with each impact. Once, twice, 3 times. The panel buckled. 4 times, 5 times. A crack appeared along the bottom edge. Then it gave way. A hole. Small, but just big enough. Amanda dropped to her knees. She grabbed Jocelyn and held her tight against her chest. Then she crawled through that opening on her hands and knees. Out into the sunlight. Out into the open air. Out of the house that had been her prison for 10 years. Amanda stumbled to her feet. Jocelyn was crying. Amanda was crying. Her legs were shaking so badly she could barely stand. But she ran across the street to a neighbor's house. She banged on the door. Someone opened it. Amanda looked back at Castro's house one final time. Then she picked up the phone and dialed 911. The call connected at 5:52 p.m. "Hello, police? Help me. I'm Amanda Berry. I've been kidnapped, and I've been missing for 10 years. And I'm here. I'm free now." The operator's voice was calm, professional. But underneath that calm, there was a shift. Something enormous was happening. "Okay," the operator said. "Stay there with those neighbors. Talk to the police when they get there."
Heard screaming. I meet my McDonald's. I come outside. I see this girl going nuts, trying to get out of her house. So I go on the porch. I go on the porch, and she says, "Help me get out. I've been in here a long time." So, I figured it's a domestic violence dispute. So I open the door, and we can't get in that way because how the door is, it's so much that a body can't fit through, only your hand. So we kick the bottom, and she comes out with the little girl, and she says, "Call 911.
Amanda couldn't wait. Her voice was shaking, rising in pitch. I need them now. I need them now before he gets back. We're sending them as soon as we get a car available. No, Amanda said. Her voice cracked. I need them now, before he gets back. Please. The operator confirmed they were dispatching units immediately. Then Amanda gave them Castro's name. Ariel Castro. 52 years old. Hispanic. Lives at 2207 Seymour Avenue. The dispatcher relayed the information to responding officers. At the same time, Charles Ramsey called 911 from his own phone. His voice was loud and fast, unfiltered. Hey, check this out. I just came from McDonald's, right? This broad is trying to break out of the house next door to me. She's like, kidnapped me and my daughter, and we've been in this house. The dispatcher put the pieces together instantly. 2 calls, same address, same story. This was real. At 5:54 p.m., just 2 minutes after Amanda's call, the first police officers arrived on Seymour Avenue. They saw Amanda standing outside with a small child in her arms. The child was crying. Amanda was crying. She looked malnourished, exhausted, like she hadn't seen sunlight in years, because she hadn't. The officers looked at her face. They recognized her. They'd seen her photo 1,000 times on missing person bulletins. This was Amanda Berry, the girl who'd vanished 10 years ago. The girl everyone assumed was dead. Officer Michael Tracy stepped forward. Ma'am, are you Amanda Berry? Amanda nodded frantically. Yes, it's me. And I'm not the only one. There are more people in that house. More girls. You have to go in. You have to get them out. The officers didn't need to hear it twice. They forced their way through the crack Amanda had crawled through. More officers followed. They moved through the ground floor with weapons drawn, checking every room, every corner. The basement was empty. Castro had moved the women upstairs long ago. An officer climbed the stairs. His heart was pounding. Cleveland Police, he shouted. Is anyone here? If you can hear me, call out. Silence. The officer moved down the upstairs hallway. Doors on either side, all closed. He tried the first handle. Locked. He forced it open. The room was empty. He moved to the next door. Michelle Knight had been sitting in her room when the commotion started downstairs. She heard Amanda screaming, heard the storm door being kicked, but she didn't understand what was happening. At first, she thought Castro had caught Amanda trying to escape. She thought they were all in terrible trouble now. Castro would punish them, beat them, make an example out of Amanda. Michelle told Gina to stay with her. Stay quiet. Don't move. They sat together, hearts hammering, listening to the sounds from below. Footsteps, shouting, chaos. Then she heard it. Words that changed everything. Cleveland Police. Is anyone here? Michelle's breath caught in her throat. Police. Real police. Not Castro pretending. Not a test. The words echoed through the house like a prayer being answered. Michelle opened her door. She stepped into the hallway, and there was an officer, gun drawn, moving toward her. Their eyes met. For a moment, neither moved. Michelle's mind couldn't process what she was seeing. A police officer, in the hallway of Castro's house, looking at her with wide eyes full of shock and compassion. Then something broke inside Michelle. 10 years of fear, 10 years of chains and darkness and torture and hopelessness. All of it came rushing out at once. She ran. She threw herself into the officer's arms and held on with everything she had, sobbing, shaking, repeating the same words over and over. You saved me. You saved me. Don't let me go. Please don't let me go. The officer's eyes filled with tears. He couldn't help it. He wrapped his arms around this small, broken woman and held her. You're safe now, he said. You're safe. Behind Michelle, Gina emerged from the room. She stood in the doorway, blinking in the hallway light. Her legs were weak. Her body trembled. She looked at the officer, and the tears started falling silently down her face. The officer radioed in. His voice was breaking. Adam 23 radio. We found them. We found them. Gina DeJesus is here. Michelle Knight is here. We found them. The dispatcher's response came through the radio, the words that Cleveland had been waiting 10 years to hear. We found them. We found them. For the first time since they were taken, the three women walked out of that house, out through the front door, into the afternoon sunlight. Michelle blinked against the brightness. She hadn't seen real sunlight in over a decade. It felt foreign on her skin, almost painful. Ambulances rushed to the scene. Paramedics swarmed around the women. Michelle, Amanda, Gina, and little Jocelyn were loaded into the back. They were taken to Metro Health Medical Center. But before the ambulances pulled away, something happened that Amanda would remember forever. The police put her in the back of a squad car first. Then they brought Michelle and Gina out. They walked all three women to the ambulance together. For the first time in years, they were standing next to each other, free, unchained, breathing open air. Michelle looked at Amanda. After everything Castro had done to turn them against each other, after all the manipulation and mind games, in that single moment they were just two survivors. Two women who had endured the unimaginable. Michelle looked into Amanda's eyes and whispered something simple, something that carried the weight of an entire decade. Wow, we're really free. At 6:16 p.m., police tracked Castro down. He was pulling into a McDonald's parking lot. Officers surrounded his vehicle. They opened the door. Castro looked up at them with an expression that shifted from confusion to something darker he knew. The moment he saw the police cars, he knew his secret was over. They handcuffed him on the spot. Ariel Castro, 52 years old. School bus driver, musician, neighbor, monster. His reign of terror was finished. Castro's brothers Pedro and Ono were also initially arrested. Ono had been in the car with Castro when he was taken into custody. Both fell under immediate suspicion, but investigators quickly determined neither brother had any knowledge of the women. Neither had been involved. Only Ariel was charged. At the hospital, the full extent of the damage became horrifically clear. Michelle was the most critical. When medical staff first examined her, they were stunned by what they saw. She weighed 84 pounds. She was so small, so fragile. The nurses initially mistook her for a child. Her body had been starved and beaten for 11 years. She was barely functioning. Then the doctors discovered something even more alarming. Michelle had a severe bacterial infection in her stomach. It had been growing unchecked inside her for weeks. The infection was so advanced that doctors told her she had only days to live. If she hadn't been rescued when she was, Michelle Knight would have died in that house, alone, chained, and nobody would have known for months, maybe longer. Michelle spent 5 days in the hospital recovering. The infection was treated, but the other damage could never be fully repaired. Her eyesight had been permanently altered from years of living in complete darkness. Her facial bones had been fractured multiple times from Castro's beatings. Her jaw had been broken with a barbell, and her reproductive system had been destroyed by the forced miscarriages. Michelle would never carry a child again. Amanda and Gina were released the next day. Their physical conditions were better, but the psychological scars ran deep. All three women were diagnosed with complex post-traumatic stress disorder. Years of torture had rewired their minds. Trust was shattered. Safety felt impossible. The normal world felt overwhelming and confusing after so long in captivity. When Michelle was finally discharged, she didn't go home to her family. She went to Gina's house instead. The bond between the women was stronger than family connections in some ways. They'd survived together, protected each other, kept each other alive. Michelle and Gina, especially, had shared a room for years. They knew each other's pain intimately. Going to Gina's house felt safer than anywhere else. Castro's house was demolished on August 7, 2013. Part of his plea agreement required it. Michelle was there for the demolition. She handed out yellow balloons to the spectators watching. Yellow balloons representing missing children. Before the crane swung, the balloons were released into the sky. Hundreds of them, rising up and disappearing into the clouds. Then Gina's aunt grabbed the controls and brought the crane down into the house. The structure crumbled. Piece by piece, the house of horrors was torn apart. Within hours, Nothing remained but rubble and dust. Where 2207 Seymour Avenue once stood, a small park and garden now exists. A place of life where death once lived. The house has been completely removed from Google Street View, as if the world is trying to erase any trace that it ever existed. Castro faced 977 criminal charges. Kidnapping, rape, aggravated murder, each day of captivity, each assault, each forced miscarriage, all documented, all charged as individual offenses. During the proceedings, Castro showed the world exactly who he was. He sat in that courtroom and claimed he was not a monster. He said he was sick, addicted. He alleged the sexual contact was consensual. He claimed he treated the women well. The judge, Michael Russo, stared at Castro in disbelief. The evidence told a completely different story. Chains, ropes, duct tape, starvation, forced miscarriages, a decade of imprisonment. Castro's claims were not just false, they were insulting. Castro even had the audacity to blame others. He said, if police had simply checked surveillance footage from a nearby school, they would have caught him immediately after taking Gina. If they had questioned me, he said, it's possible it would have ended right there. I feel the FBI let those girls down. The narcissism was breathtaking. Even sitting in a courtroom facing charges for destroying 3 women's lives, Castro couldn't accept responsibility. He deflected. He blamed. He made excuses. He truly believed he was the victim. On July 26th, Castro pleaded guilty to 937 counts. The plea deal spared him from the death penalty. On August 1st, 2013, he was sentenced to life in prison plus 1,000 years. No possibility of parole. The judge looked Castro directly in the eyes. You will not be getting out. Is that clear? Castro nodded. I do understand that, Your Honor. Only Michelle attended the sentencing. She stood up to face Castro one final time. She looked at the man who had stolen 11 years of her life, the man who had tortured her, beaten her, destroyed her body, tried to crush her spirit. And she spoke. You took 11 years of my life away. I spent 11 years in hell. Now your hell is just beginning. I will overcome all that has happened to me, but you will face hell for eternity. I will live on. You will die a little every day as you think of the 11 years of atrocities that you inflicted on us. I can forgive you, but I will never forget. Castro said nothing. There was nothing he could say. Less than 2 months later, on September 3rd, 2013, Ariel Castro was found dead in his prison cell. He had hanged himself with a bedsheet tied around his neck and attached to a window hinge. Prison staff found him 27 minutes after their last routine check. Castro had been on special observation. Guards were supposed to check on him every 30 minutes because of his high profile, but somehow, he'd managed to end his life anyway. 2 prison guards were later found to have falsified their observation logs. Castro left behind handwritten notes, Bible verses, scripture about confession and salvation. Another note simply read, "My kids and grandkids," with a heart drawn around the words. His family's names were scribbled nearby, along with hearts, flowers, music notes. The official ruling was suicide. An earlier report had suggested the death might have been accidental. Autoerotic asphyxiation. Castro's shorts were found around his ankles. He wasn't wearing underwear, but investigators spoke to other inmates who confirmed Castro had been losing weight in prison. His clothes no longer fit. They slipped down constantly. That explained his position when he was found. Castro was cremated. His ashes were scattered in an undisclosed location. His family wanted nothing to do with him. His brothers denounced him publicly. His son Anthony refused to visit him in prison. His cousin Maria spoke on behalf of the Castro family, apologizing to the victims and their families. "We are so incredibly sorry," she said. "These horrible things happened at the hands of someone who was a part of our family. We want the victims to know that the Castro family is full of good, kind, generous, loving people." The 3 women rebuilt their lives, one painful day at a time. Michelle changed her name to Lily Rose Lee. She published 2 books about her experience, Finding Me, Life After Darkness. She married Miguel Rodriguez on May 6, 2016, the anniversary of her escape. She founded Lily's Ray of Hope, an organization that helps abuse survivors find housing, clothing, and education. She still hasn't regained custody of Joey. His adoptive parents send her photos and updates. One day, when he's old enough, Michelle hopes they'll finally meet again. Amanda focused on raising Jocelyn in safety and love. The little girl born in a basement is now a teenager. A normal teenager, living a normal life. Amanda also became a voice for the missing. In 2017, she began hosting a daily segment on Cleveland's Fox 8 News. Every day she features a missing person case. She keeps their faces visible, their names remembered. It's her mission now, making sure no one disappears the way she once did. Gina got her driver's license, something she dreamed about since she was taken at 14. She went back to school, earned her diploma, founded the Cleveland Family Center for Missing Children and Adults. She and her family travel the country teaching law enforcement how to properly support families of missing persons. Her parents never gave up searching for her. Now Gina ensures other families receive the same dedication. Amanda and Gina wrote a book together called Hope. They remain close friends to this day. But sadly, they're no longer in contact with Michelle. Castro's years of manipulation had fractured something between the women that time couldn't fully heal. The mind games, the forced rivalries, the constant division. Those wounds left scars just as permanent as the physical ones. The Cleveland kidnapping case changed how America thinks about missing persons. It exposed devastating failures in the system. Michelle's name was removed from the database after 15 months. The 2nd District had 71 missing people and only one detective assigned to all of them. Neighbors reported suspicious activity at Castro's house repeatedly and were ignored. Warning signs about Castro's violent history were documented, but never seriously investigated. And the most chilling lesson of all, evil doesn't always look like evil. Ariel Castro was a school bus driver, a musician, a neighbor who barbecued with the people on his street. He attended vigils for the girl he'd kidnapped. He helped search for her. He looked into the eyes of her grieving mother and offered comfort while holding her daughter chained in his basement. For 10 years, he fooled everyone. His family, his friends, his neighbors, the police, an entire community. Because the truth is, monsters don't wear masks on the outside. They wear ordinary faces. They live ordinary lives, and sometimes they live right next door. But Michelle Knight, Amanda Berry, and Gina DeJesus survived against impossible odds, against a decade of torture, against a system that failed them. They survived because they refused to let Castro take the one thing he could never chain down: hope.